Hey, Svea, guess what? What time it is?
What time is it, James?
It's time for the show. We better go live right now.
What?
Yep.
I mean, can we go live in like 3 minutes?
No, we cannot finish this game of online Farmville. We're going to have to delay it.
I was playing Sims.
Then who am I playing Farmville against?
No, that's not me. You're playing Farmville. I play real life Farmville at my house.
You have like chickens and goats and horses and stuff?
No, I'm like harvesting oranges and lemons and fertilizing my trees and trying to remove ants and aphids from my apple tree. And yeah.
Fits the definition just enough.
That's real Farmville. It's not pretend Farmville.
Yeah. Oh, guess who's in? Look good. We haven't seen her for a while.
I know,
Joya.
Joya.
Welcome back. Awesome.
I can't wait to see Joya. I'm going to see her in 3 weeks.
Stanford Powell, right?
Stanford Powwow. Yep. See,
yeah.
She said it. Stanford Powwow.
Yeah, and she beat Maya. Because here's Maya.
She did beat Maya.
Maya, you have competition. I don't know.
She beat you, Maya, by 1 full minute.
It was more like 5 minutes. Well, let's see. 1.25 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
And of course, Maya making her proclamations from El Presidente. Hello, in the Nightcraft Talk family.
Yes.
All right. So you're probably wondering, folks, they're starting to watch. They're jumping in. Oh, boy, howdy. And I gotta say this, Maya's thing, like and share the show.
Yes.
Sharing is caring. I'm doing it now myself.
I'm going right now and sharing it.
Got it. So what you're probably looking at is of course, it's a world map, but this is a live map, pre-recorded live map of earthquakes around the world, because tonight we're doing the science of earthquakes. You know, since last Monday, we were reminded about California, a whole lot of shaking going on.
I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, some of these were popping up. I looked and went, oh, there's a 5 over in Indonesia. When I was recording this about 7 o'clock this morning. A live interactive map. Slow rotation. Look at all the freaking earthquakes in the South Pacific.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy stuff.
I know. So tonight you're going to hear lots of stories from Californians, like people in the Midwest tell how their tornado stories. We have our earthquake stories too.
That's a lot of, look, that's crazy. Look at all those things. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's like all of well, I know there's a whole lot of shaking going on, so that makes sense. That's a real statement.
Oh, big time. Let's see here. Look how there's almost nothing in Australia. Japan, there's a bunch.
It's like all around. Oh, yeah, Japan is very active.
Oh, look at Indonesia right there.
I've been in Taiwan during an earthquake, and I've been in Japan during an earthquake.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy being in Taiwan because I was in a high rise. And it was a little scary.
Gotcha. So now we get some, we always like to have the show countdown right here be a little bit of a primer for the show. And this is some pictures of the San Andreas Fault right here in California. How long is that thing? Over 800 miles?
I need to get my dinner. I'll be right back.
Go get your dinner. So, folks, while Svea's gone, we're not going to misbehave, but at 10:05 Pacific, 5 minutes into the show, remind Svea her collar's untied.
I heard that.
You heard nothing.
I heard every single word.
Well, what did I say? I said nice things about you.
I don't think you did.
I think I did.
I don't know. Look at that. That's the fault line. That's crazy.
That's the fault line. That's pictures of the San Andreas Fault going through California.
Wow.
And slowly sharing. Don't you do that. That will make us unprepared for the show and slow.
So do you remember in Superman when there's an earthquake and Superman, he literally pulls together the fault line or something? Did he do that? He did something where he pulled things together so that they were back.
Well, he pushed away. We're there to get to Lois Lane, who died in that car that got sunk in during the earthquake, and then he like flew around the Earth and made it rotate backwards to reverse time to save Lois before the earthquake hit. God help me, I remember that. Another view of the San Andreas Fault, which is a great little microcosm of what we're talking about tonight.
Crazy.
Yeah.
My quesadilla was not melty.
Well, are you trying to cook it in the fridge? Because you know that doesn't work.
No, I was heating it up in the microwave.
Okay. Did you like set it for 5 seconds instead of like 20?
No, I set it for a minute, and it wasn't very.
Well, why'd you buy melt-proof cheese?
Oh, so you want to hear something crazy? You're gonna laugh.
Yes.
So, I was with my friend today for lunch, and she was looking at these T-shirts. I was over in Coronado, and she says to me, "Oh, my kids! I like to send my kids. One of her kids lives in England, and she says, "Oh, I just like to send him kind of funny T-shirts. He likes that, right?" And I pointed at this one T-shirt and I said, "Oh, this is really good. This is a good one right now." And she's like, "Oh, that's kind of old. It's too old. It's not funny like maybe it used to be." And I was like, "Really? You want to hear what the T-shirt said?"
Yeah.
It said "Taco Cat" spells taco cat. And it had
That's
a cat.
timeless.
It had a cat with a sombrero and a serape kind of blanket jacket.
You know what? I attributed that to the same kid who once told me one time, he goes, "Hey, have you ever heard of this group called the Beatles?" It's
What?
timeless. Taco Cat. I've got a shirt. I should go grab it at some point that has Space Taco Cat.
But this is like, she said her kids will roll their eyes at her and tell her that that's so old. It's not even funny.
Yeah. You're going to trust somebody that can has adult money to spend, or somebody less than 5 years out of diapers? If we let the kids decide who's cool and what's not, we would be wearing like, the yoga pants with Birkenstocks and socks over it.
No. I've never been cool.
I try to be. I want to be relevant. All right, we have volcanoes, because that's part of Earth tectonics and the science of earthquakes. I was actually just outside Yellowstone National Park when there was a bit of an earthquake, and then one of the geysers blew in a steam explosion. That was crazy. That was a big old pit in the ground. But we're in the caldera of a volcano, and volcanoes are involved earthquakes, and they're just really cool to look at. And I didn't want to do 10 minutes of just the Earth, that live image of earthquakes over in the air on the planet Earth. Magma.
Liquid magma.
Well, look what Joya says. The definitor of cool. What? So now you're always cool.
No, I'm saying that Birkenstocks and socks were never really cool.
Unless you're from Oregon.
Oregon's cool? What?
That's standard dress in Oregon and Seattle.
Okay, well, they're not cool anymore.
Well, you don't see me walking out of my tent with Birkenstocks and socks on in the morning. Of course, it was 35 degrees. Okay. 1 minute to countdown. Coming up, we're going to talk about earthquakes and more earthquakes and science stuff. We didn't mean for this to be a STEM episode, but we've got that and a few other things to catch up on this week. This has been an eventful week, and I got a story. You got a story. And that magma's hot. You should have been. Would you ever want to cook your quesadilla in that oven?
No, but I definitely wouldn't want to dip my finger in it.
No. All right. We've got a big crowd tonight. All right. Joy is here. Who else we got commenting? Folks, let us know who you are and get ready for countdown, because we're just 10 seconds away.
I know.
You ready for this today? Because it's complicated.
I'm trying to hurry up and eat as fast as I can.
Make it quick. All right. Starting at 10.
9.
8.
7.
6.
5.
4.
3,
2,
1. Woohoo!
From hot to hotter, let's start the show.
It's time for Late Night Crap Talk with hosts Svea and James Hermes. On this week's show, a whole lot of shaking going on. The science of earthquakes. How does the ground take its coffee? Shaken, not stirred.
Yeah.
It's time to start the show.
Shaken, not stirred.
Yes, this is.
The Sean Connery thing. I don't want to be. Oh, a lot of people got that reference.
Okay, let me put on my media asset.
And banner. Hoorah.
Yes.
Okay, welcome this week. We are live.
Yes, welcome everyone. So if you haven't ever watched our show before, please do like and subscribe to our Facebook channels, Facebook page, our YouTube channels, our Twitch channels, our Instagrams, our everything. So
MySpace.
Anyway, guys, so please like and subscribe. We do this show every week on Friday. Mostly we do live, and we always like interactive crowd. So feel free to comment. You see it. If you see it, we're like adding comments and talking about the things that our viewers say while we do our show. So anyway, kind of exciting stuff. Hey, James, what's going on with Elk Rock Traders?
Well, that was early in the show. I was not expecting you to ask that. So let me get things lined up. As it just happens to be busy week. We're getting ready for Lakeside Rodeo in 1 week. It's the biggest rodeo in San Diego County. I've been doing a couple of lives just on my own own business channels, getting ready to make some of the stuff. And for those of you watching it, I know Maya was. You saw where I was actually picking through some feathers. We just got a bunch of new feathers in. The sweetgrass turkey and the royal palm turkey, and they're freaking love the feathers. They were not quite the ones I was hoping for, but they're still dang pretty. And if you saw me picking through them and then making fan handles, this is the end product. This is some of the stuff we're getting ready for. Where is it? Hold on.
The one with the fans? I see it.
Yeah, it's just StreamYard's new thing where you have to manually take the credits off to get to the next picture now.
Okay.
Yeah, used to that. Anyway, so this is some of the stuff I've been working for. These are mostly done right there. A couple of the fans. These are what you see with the fan on the right and the two outer on the left picture are the sweetgrass turkey feathers. And some of those look a stinking amount like a golden eagle feather. Real close. That's why I like them. It's an exotic breed. They're hard to get, but when I find them, I get as many as I can. But so that's what we got going on with the feather fans. This is a couple more of the projects because we also got some barn turkey feathers in. And I started painting. Cool. I haven't done these in a while. I like having rodeos where you see the one on the right is one of the sweetgrass turkey feathers. And I painted that today along with all these. And there's still a few more.
Cool.
Yeah, so U.S. flag designs. They're designed to go on cowboy hats. And when I have my pals, people like to get it on the regalia too. There's a lot of detail to those little suckers. So that has been this week's project. And we're all getting ready for Lakeside Rodeo coming up. That is a big rodeo. 1 week from tonight, those of you who remember Melody on our show, she's going to be there. I'll be there. I've got to make her a fan because she's got a baby coming in 2 months. So we'll have that. And then the weekend after, first full weekend of May, we will be at Koopa Cultural Days. It's the 50th annual. And what's neat about Koopa Days is that it's a gathering. It's not a powwow. But there's so many exhibitions. They have everything from the Cupeño dancers, lots of bird singing. They'll have the intertribal bird singers there, the Alcalente, a few others. But also what they bring in is sometimes they brought in Hawaiian dancers. They'll bring in a lot of California tribes from Central California. They'll come over and do their dances. Pima basket dancers will be there. And probably my personal favorite, Yaqui deer dancers. Nice. I love Yaqui deer dancers. Spent a lot of time in high school with the Yaqui family. And it got me started on powwows. And I will shut down my booth to go watch that.
Nice.
I love it so much. So that is on Saturday and Sunday, May 3rd and 4th. We got Lakeside Rodeo, then Koopa Days we have coming up. So gearing up for that one, and we're gonna have a lot of cool stuff. I mean, I'm gonna be doing a tour of the booth when we set up on Thursday at Lakeside. I'm looking forward to that. Making some neat stuff. So that's what's going on with Elk Rack right now. Svea, I heard some rumors.
What'd you hear?
I need some rumors. I need you to confirm about Dancing
Okay.
Bear.
What can I confirm for you?
Are there some classes?
There are some classes
Do
coming
you
up.
have class?
We have class.
Can you prove it?
Yes.
How?
I can show you my website.
Yeah. I'm doing a good lead in for you here. Or did you?
I know. I'm following it. Okay. So I wanted to bring on someone to talk about something that's kind of cool that's coming up at Dancing
Is
Bear.
there somebody that can prove that you have class?
Yes.
Is it the
Because
ultimate
this
judging
person-
class?
Because this person has class too.
A definitive of something that defines the purveyor of the blessing that says you have class.
Yes.
Hoorah. All right.
Okay. All right. So we're going to add this person to our show. Hello.
Hi.
And Cheyenne is back, folks.
So Cheyenne is a wonderful bead artist, and she's going to be teaching a beaded keychain class at Dancing Bear. And we moved the date to next weekend because it's Easter.
Yeah.
And so, but we moved it to next week. And Cheyenne, would you like to talk about your class?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm going to be doing a bead wrap keychain class next week. And it's a pretty beginner stitch, especially for those of you who are looking to get into beading. And I've already done an earring class. I did one a few weeks ago at Dancing Bear and had a really good turnout. So I wanted to bring some more beading to Dancing Bear. So we're going to add the keychain one. So you guys should come. It'll be great. And yeah, I've been beading for a long time. So it's fun to actually be able to share all my knowledge with other people. So
Yes. And then for those of you who don't know, Cheyenne started beading in our store.
yes, I did.
And so that always makes me happy because I always get so misty-eyed because it's just it's nice to see someone who started and they're just really having fun and just going crazy and doing all kinds of really awesome bead work. And she's our local celebrity. She's a celebrity here in San Diego. So we're really excited to have her in, and she's really great teacher, and we really love having her. And everyone that came last time had so much fun. And it's nice to have a class like that where people are just super, super excited to learn. And it was, like I said, it was very cool. So next week, I can show you guys how to sign up in just a moment, but I just wanted Cheyenne to come on and kind of invite you guys to come. Her class is $65. It includes the class fee and all the supplies to make the project, which is really great because generally, if you buy all the supplies, you're going to be spending way more than $65.
Yeah.
So, especially if you're just making one. So, oh, see, Maya says that you made her a custom keychain and she loves it so much.
Yay,
So
I'm so glad.
there is a absolute recommendation. There you go.
Yay.
All right. Thank you so much, Cheyenne, for coming on. We really
Of course.
appreciate it. And we'll see you soon.
No, don't be a stranger, Cheyenne. Love having you back on.
Of course, yeah.
All right. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
She's always
So,
great to have on the show. She's just so sincere.
Oh yeah. We're really excited to have her back because she actually really did a great job and had a fun time with the class. I'm gonna show you guys really quick how to sign up for the class. So I'm gonna share the screen from Dancing Bear so you can figure out how to do it. Okay, so here is our website, Dancing Bear Indian Trader. You would go to shop online and you would click classes and see how it says classes and calendar. Click classes. Scroll down to the class that you want to take. So here's the beaded keychain class. And then you're going to select a date. You can't select this class because we are moving the class to the next date. So you're going to click select, put your name, and add to cart, and go ahead and start filling out and go complete the process. That's how you sign up for the class. It's really easy to do. You can also come into our store and sign up if you like. I'm going to put the link here in the chat, and I'm going to, we don't need to share this anymore. So let's see, remove, and that's weird. It's still showing something. Do you have
there we go. The links are popping up in the comments.
No, but I'm
Twitch,
saying
YouTube, and Facebook.
Our format is not.
No, it's one of those update things we got to use to with the new thing with StreamYard. This is the third week we've been having problems, but not as many as the last 2 weeks ago.
So I just put the link in, so that link can direct you directly to her class to sign up. But like I said, it's a really fun class. Everyone had such a great time when they came last time and did the earrings. And so that definitely is something that we're very excited about. Okay, so in addition to that, we have our graduation stoles in production right now. So graduation is around the corner. Don't wait too long. We have just been bombarded with graduation stole orders. At first I thought, well, maybe people aren't going to order graduation stole this year. No, we didn't get a lot at the start, and then boom, we have a ton of orders. So place your order ASAP if you want a graduation stole, because right now we're trying to get everything done for everyone for their graduation. So, and we're already around the corner. A lot of colleges graduate in May. And so, we're almost at that. And then you have June right around the corner. So if you want any graduation for May or June, get your orders in ASAP on our website. We do have it available. So just place your orders ASAP. That, and then additionally, we just got in our ribbon. We got in our 1.5 inch ribbon cards, our ribbon sets, and our ribbon spools. So that's very exciting. We're super excited about that. And those are like the major things coming up. And then Stanford is in like 3 weeks. So
there it is.
That's all Dancing Bear. It's a lot. Sorry, everyone.
There's a lot going on, especially when we were having our meeting a couple of days ago, and you're talking about just the stalls and hoping people order early, and it's just fingers to the bone for everyone that makes the stalls over with your shop. It's just, I can identify. I've had some orders where people come in going, "Can you make this?" I'm like, "Can I make 10 obsidian knives in a week?" No.
Yeah, so it's a lot. We have a lot, and so we're just trying to keep up and trying to do it. So
just keep running, never hit the ground.
Look how cute Princess Leia is being. She's laying on my shoulder.
Does she knows how to walk, right?
Yes, she does.
She just doesn't prefer to.
You know what's really funny? Someone else said that to me that totally doesn't watch the show or any of the comments you said. Where was it?
And great minds think alike.
Tawny's husband said that to me. He's like, "Does that dog walk anywhere?"
Well, that's why we're like at the odd couple thing going on. I go bringing the guy perspective on that stuff a bit.
Okay, so
yes, we discussed, I'm a bit rural.
Yes, she walks places. She loves to be held. So whenever she sees me sitting down, she always wants me to hold her. Sometimes she doesn't walk because, like, say for example, I don't have her leash, and so it's like I can't just like put her on the ground. I don't have a leash. So anyway.
So Dan loves you. Would Dan carry you around?
Yes, he would.
Would Dan carry you around while you carry around Princess Leia?
Yeah. Why not?
Are you daydreaming now?
No.
Are you gonna? If Dan was sitting in the room, would you be looking at Dan going?
He would totally carry me around if he could.
If he could.
He right now, like several times, he's like, "Hey, Svea, come here," and he's like, "Get on my back," and I'm like, "No, you're gonna hurt your back." He's like, "Come on." Like, he wants to do piggyback. I'm like, "Dan, no." Anyway.
Yeah, it's a quick way to do it. So we got stuff over the top, stories from the week.
Oh yeah, what's your story from the week, James?
What's yours? Me first. I got it. We know mine.
Well, story from the week for me is we're discussing it for the show, so that's not necessarily.
Got it. Okay. So, story of the week, folks. I've been riding the bike around. Had first serious accident. So last Monday. Matter of fact, just to preface this, last night I had a actually a customer drive down to Palm Springs to look for my booth and said, "Where's your booth?" I went, "I'm not there tonight. I have to get for a reason." Last Monday, I was out doing about a 15-mile ride. I was about 3 miles into it and saw a green light. You know, when I see a green light, I usually slow down with the bike, make sure nobody's going to be speeding through, even though they got the red. Things were clear, and I went, okay. And so I kind of punched it to go through, and there was some water. The bike hydroplaned, and I went down. And I went down. It was bad. It was bad enough. I'll put it that way. I went down, going about over 16 miles an hour, according to the date on my watch. I hit on my left side. The bike went down on me. It actually knocked me out for a few seconds. I got a minor concussion from it. And it's actually very fuzzy the first hours. The memory's coming back a little bit more every day. But nothing's broken, though I had limited mobility in my left arm. I cannot reach all the way up. It seriously hurts to go like this way, but I could on Monday, and then start stepping up just from the tendons repairing itself. So I basically got a jammed shoulder. Luckily, it's not a rotator cuff injury. We don't believe it is. It hasn't signs on that one, but it's going to take a couple weeks to get over this or more. So there's no bike riding for a while for me. But there's a lot of PT on the shoulder on that one. But I've got a big old contusion right here and a contusion on my left cheek this bigger than a grapefruit. And I hit hard. Matter of fact, I hit when I went down, there was a guy that jumped out of his car and went over and helped me up and scored me, says, "You okay?" Okay. And I'm walking over across the crosswalk of the curb, and it happened right in front of an ambulance. They pulled over and says, "You okay?" I went, "You check me out right quick." But I said, "I'm talking, I'm coherent." And then when they left, I realized I have to think about which way is home. I'm easily confused. I know the home's that way, but it took me like 10 seconds to figure out which way it was. I went, yeah, I'm not good. Called my mom. She came over to my truck, picked me up. We took the bike back, and I took the rest of the day off, rested. And I'm doing a lot of PT to this arm that will get full recovery. It's just going to take a while. So no crazy, no little adventures for me for a bit. So that's what's going on. Yes, Joy, it was scary. I still got an appointment with the doc. Unfortunately, healthcare works so quick to get this checked out to make sure that it's not a rotator cuff injury. Either way, I want to do surgery. I don't think I need to. There's no signs. There's no crepitus, which is grinding bones. There's really no popping. Once I warm it up, I can reach up with difficult. When I don't, it's just stiff. But I didn't want to stress with all the lifting I have to do at Palm Springs to set up the booth and then take it down. And so I'm just giving a rest because I got Lakeside coming up. So that's my story. It was a little bit of concussion. So, it was very minor, nothing serious, just that 20-minute period of it's pretty fuzzy. It's going to slowly coming back, but there's no lingering effects. So, and that's what's going on. How about you, Sven?
What?
Sven?
Yeah. So
you Sven with Fifi, right?
So I just think that you need to be a little more careful because, we're getting older. I'm going to have to give you that kind of speech.
Oh, I'm getting plenty of it. Folks, that was supposed to be a concussion joke that I wasn't keen on, but knew was coming.
Yeah, and I don't like it, but...
Okay, we tried.
Yeah. I know. I get worried about James because he shouldn't be doing things where he can get himself injured, and I get worried about those things.
I'm not very good at wearing a hole in the couch.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know. Anyway, this is another discussion.
I'm not jumping the bike, and honestly, most anybody riding through this is just something that happens if you get on a bike. I'm not going down. I'm not jumping rocks and doing rock gardens, doing down a single track. I don't do that. I'm aware of that, but just riding the bike, it just happens. It was a freak thing. So believe me, I'm not a daredevil on this stuff. I'm over 50. But that's just one of those things that happens. It's like if you step out of your car, you slip and fall on the cement. It's just the risk you take when you walk out of your house. It's not like I'm going off doing class 5 whitewater going down waterfalls. Those days are behind me. But folks, I see the comments coming in. Thank you very much. It's just sometimes you get injured on doing stuff.
Yeah. Yep. So, hey, James, I hear there's a lot of shaking going on.
Is there? Wow. That was kind of funny right there because I actually had somebody. This would have made a better segue or the funner. So
Tell
did
me
did the bike accident happen after the earthquake or before?
Maybe it happened right after the bike.
It was actually about 2.5 hours later was the earthquake because somebody thought that maybe I fell off the bike because of the earthquake. I'm like, no, it was unrelated, just the timing on that one. Matter of fact,
you're like, no, I caused the earthquake.
Yeah, totally. Matter of fact, there was one like back in 2009. I just made a power drum called the Beast, which I've had on the show. It's this big Buffalo double-side drum I got, and my first power drum I've ever made. And I was tapping the sucker as it was drawing because I was getting ready for first song on it for a special thing up in Ottawa, a special thing we had for it. And I tapped it, and it was like boom, boom, and I was like, that thing's so low. An hour later, we had a 5.6 earthquake. And I posted on Facebook and said, that was not me testing the drum. Because I did the whole thing. It was funny at the time. It was a big power drum. That's why we call it the Beast. So they had beat me to the joke. Wendy Hodge. With that, so yeah. Welcome California, folks. Earthquakes. And we all, if you're from California, you're going to know a few things about them. We're going to tell them like Midwesterners tell us tornado stories. But we got some presentation stuff for you. With the Monday earthquake, we decided to change this week's show from Babylonian Tupperware to a STEM episode about earthquakes.
Yeah.
And do that. We all have stories about it.
Yes. So James, what were you doing during the earthquake?
Waking up from a nap from the concussion. It was very mild, but anyway, I was just waking up and my phone went off and went beep, 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 beep. I'm like, what the hell is that? Hey, yellow blood, amber alert or what? And I looked at it and it said, earthquake happening. Expect shaking at any moment. Matter of fact, I took screenshots of it. I don't know if I presented it here, but I was like, expecting shaking any moment. It was like 5 seconds later. And I'm like 55 miles from the epicenter. It was over in Julian.
Uh-huh.
And you ain't far from it. At all.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a good shaker, 5.2, and it lasted like what, probably 20 seconds?
I feel like it was shorter.
Was it? Okay. But it was, that was a good little shaker. 5.2 is pretty darn respectable. And it went, and I was just like, holy cow. I was just like, never mind the quake happened. I'm geeking out that the warning hit says expect shaking, and all of a sudden then it hits. Nobody's ever seen that before, at least around here.
So I was sitting at this dining table, and I'm going to tilt up my screen so you can see. I don't know if you can see it. Hold on. Let me see. That didn't work quite like I thought it would. Let's see.
Are we looking at a polar bear in a snowstorm?
So see that right there? That's my chandelier.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm sitting here, and the chandelier is like, I was like, oh crap. Like I'm just sitting here and this whole thing is like all of the crystals are like shaking. I'm like,
You have crystals?
And then it kind of slowed down. And then it did another kind of like bump up.
Yeah, that's how I remember it.
And I was like, interesting. And I'm just sitting there, and then the phone went off after it already had started because we're so close to it. Julian right now, if I was to drive, Julian's about like an hour and 15 away, but it's only an hour and 15 away because you're driving through curvy roads. Like if you were just going to drive straight, like it's only 18 miles away. So it really is very close. But if we were driving, you have to drive like the windy roads and whatever, but it was kind of crazy. And my mom, I hear this like kind of drop noise. I'm like, oh shoot, what just fell? And it's just a broom. So I was like, okay, that's not bad. And I'm like, Mom, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm okay. She's like, you're just shaking.
My neighbor I was out front just a few minutes later, and I was talking to my neighbor across the street there at the local Stater Brothers, about a mile from my house, which had a lot of the Coachella traffic because they were leaving weekend one. And she says that people were freaking out in the parking lot because, you know, these people are not safe. And that there was actually some stuff that fell off the shelves in the local supermarket. We really have anything because we kind of decorate our house and put stuff where it's not going to fall down in case of the earthquake, because I live in a Rift Valley. And that was, you know, that was what we had right there. Wendy says that they've had a warning system in Mexico for 20 years, that included with the cell phones, and is that with sirens or cell phone warnings for 20 years? Do you want to clarify that for us, Wendy? I'd love to know. And then Maya says that the alarm telling us about the earthquake woke us up. Everyone else did this. Everyone else did feel it here in Chula Vista and South Bay. You were still pretty close to that.
Yeah. I mean, they're pretty much kind of a similar distance, because if you think about Julian and you just take a compass and go whoosh, like they're kind of along. It's kind of, I mean, they might be a little bit further away, but still, just being in San Diego, it's not far from Julian.
No, it isn't. And then
on the mountains.
I know it's done in Los Angeles. I have a friend of mine that talked to me the afternoon. He goes, "Was there an earthquake?" And I went, "Dude, you live in Palm Springs. You didn't feel the earthquake when you were asleep?" He goes, "No, I didn't feel anything." I was like, "Okay."
I think that if you're not inside a structure, you won't necessarily feel it if you're not paying attention. Did you see the video of the elephants freaking out at the
yeah, matter of fact, we can do that without sound right now if you want to.
So the wild animal park is 15 minutes away from me. They're closer to Julian than me. So they were freaking out. And I was like, wow, like they literally circled up and had all their butts towards each other and just pointed their heads out like they were looking at defending each other in a herd, which was very interesting. And that was a real, like, natural animal instinct, which I thought that was pretty cool. But I think that being in an earthquake, I think I remember being in an earthquake once where I was outside and I just felt like I had sea legs. I had this weird, like, kind of unstableness. That's the best way to describe it. Yeah, this is crazy. Look at this.
Yeah, I know when they do this, they know there's something unnatural because they actually communicate through their feet. They feel vibrations in their feet. And when something like this happens, they'll instinctively form a circle around the youngest members of the herd.
Isn't that crazy? Look at that.
Yeah, we're looking at genetic memory here on that one, where they don't know what's going on. They know there's a danger, so they do that protection circle. And that, I think it was the 7-month-old that was in the middle.
Isn't that cool? But yeah, that's at the it's called the Safari Park now. But for those people that lived in San Diego for a really long time, they know that as the Wild Animal Park. The San Diego Zoo's Wild Animal Park. It's pretty much like a huge reserve over in the mountains east of Escondido. And they have these large, vast fields where the animals can roam. So it's really kind of a nice space for the animals. Like they have a whole bunch of like rhinoceroses and like the kind of animals that are roaming animals. They can actually roam. It's pretty cool. But yeah, that was just crazy.
Mexico warns by TV, radio, phone apps, and public loudspeakers.
Okay.
There's so many jokes I want to say from that, but I actually like Mexico.
Yeah, be nice. But yeah, so
Cheech and Chong.
But yeah, that was really crazy. And after that earthquake, I had a whole bunch of friends call me. They were like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And it's like I've never had so many of my friends call and ask if I'm okay after an earthquake. But I guess
from out of state?
So I had my friend Linda from Orange County call me, and I had Linda call me. Dan called me. He was in San Diego. He checked on to see if we were okay. And then I talked to my friend in Missouri. She was calling and asking if we were okay. She used to live in Brea, so which is in Orange County. So she was calling. She's like, "Are you okay? I saw the news." So
Yeah.
it was pretty crazy. Like I had a lot of friends call and be like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" So that was kind of cool.
That's cool. Very on that one. Should we get started on the science?
So James, how
Yeah.
do earthquakes happen?
Well, let's start from the beginning. As it happens to be, did you know we're floating on an island of molten lava?
We're floating on an island of molten lava? Really?
Over a sea of magma. We're on a floating island.
Are we on a sea of floating magma?
We are. Matter of fact, as soon as I get it up, there we go. Okay, folks, for some of you, this may be a review, but we got to start from the beginning because some of our folks, especially Midwest, may think they're just solid ground. Nope. We's on a big old ocean of magma, which is what you call lava before it comes out of the earth.
You know what? This actually looks like an eyeball. I don't know why, but it looks like an eyeball illustration.
An eyeball with a mid-oceanic ridge. So this is just a quick review. This all correlates. This all comes together. So you have the inside of the earth, the convection cell, blah, blah, blah. And what you're seeing right there is like mid-oceanic ridge. We're going to touch on that. We're going to go right there, but you've got it where you've got the continents are expanding like stuff, like say the mid-Atlantic ridge, where it's pushing the continents away. And so you can look at that. A lot of you already know this, but we're going to go ahead and go on to like right here, whereas you've got the continents and the continental plates hitting each other. You've got trench, you got the subducting plate, you got two oceanic plate, and they push against each other. And when they do that, the Earth's crust is a bit thin, and then you get like volcanoes, like the volcanic arc. Prime example of that, Mount St. Helens, the volcanoes in the Cascades. There's actually a volcano in Southern California. I'll touch on that a little bit later. It's considered an active volcano, but even its Wikipedia entry says it's rather diminutive for an active volcano. So with that,
James, that kind of looks like San Diego.
It does, doesn't it?
So where that like smoke's cut, that's like where Julian is.
Yeah, totally. Okay. So a quick review on that one.
See that? Wait, go back. See that lake thing up there towards the right? That's where you are.
Or that could be Crater Lake, or that's a Salton Sea over there in the distance.
I'm sorry. I wanted to point that out.
Well, we take picture, make it applicable.
Yes.
Okay. So with that, you know that like seismic activity right there, when there is tension and the plates get rub against each other and stuck, all of a sudden there may be a quick shift in the plate, and there's a quick slide action, a break or whatnot. That forms the earthquake, and it goes from there. You've got the epicenter, the fault right there. You can see all this downstream block, upstream block, and then boom. And we're going to just cover this part. Matter of fact, I'm going to share a thing right quick. When you see it get the upthrust, I remember during the Big Bear Landers quake in 1992, it happened just after I graduated high school. That was, for those that don't know about that, look at Wendy.
Don't step on the floor. Don't step on the floor.
Don't step on the floor. The floor's lava. Anyway, we should try that game at the end of the show. I remember the Big Bear Landers quake. That was a 7.2 in Landers, California, which is not far from me. And then there was a twin quake. There was a 6.7, I believe, or 6.6 in Big Bear, California. That ain't far as the crow flies from Landers. And when the 7.2 hit and that's still the biggest quake I've ever been in. It was a monster. That it knocked out like 5 feet of water out of my swimming pool in my house. We live downtown India. But it in Yucca Valley, and I was up there like a week later to see it myself. But there was actually an upthrust where you have, there may be like cracks in the earth that famously happen, or you can say that there's the ground. And then here's the ground, but it does this. And it shifts. You got cracks in the earth that goes that. I saw in Yucca Valley where it went up 3 feet. I forget the name of the fault right there. Went up 3 feet. Matter of fact, the 1906 or 1908, whatever earthquake in San Francisco, the San Andreas fault shifted like 6 feet. There's pictures of fences where you got a fence right here, and the other end's like a few feet this way.
Wow.
And that was like an 8 point something, an 8.2 or whatever, which is exponentially bigger than a 7.2. I think for every factor on the Richter scale, it goes up like 10% or 10 times. So it's just interesting the after effects of that stuff. But just to get back to the science, we'll get back to it, and then we got some stories to tell on this one, is that you have as the crusts go, they ain't just like, it ain't oil well machine. They don't just go smoothly together. They're going to get stuck together, and occasionally something will give way, and that causes the earthquake. What's super cool is you actually have different types of faults, and we're going to discuss on this part. You got the oblique fault, normal fault right there. You can see blind thrust fault, and you can imply, or you can infer what these mean from it, like the reverse fault. See the oblique where the ground's going up? That's like the types of earthquakes right there. And now we're going to go into something about a little bit more probably subjective on this subject, is with the different types of faults create kind of different earthquakes. The earthquakes that are closer to the surface of the earth tend to be the harder shakers, but they're not as widespread. And then like the ones that are deep down in the ground, those are radiating over a larger area, and they're going to be more like the rumbles. And Svea, you're being from California, and a lot of our viewers from California, you could probably remember this is just from our own observation that happens during earthquakes, is that you have the kind where the ground just does this, and then you got the rollers.
Yeah, I was going to say there's ones where it just kind of rolls versus it's like shake versus.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's those ones that are closer to the surface that are more like that. And if you're like on bedrock, you're going to have more of that action. And we're a bit cushioned right here because we have sand. I'm in a desert right there. But it's interesting. It's so weird to see the rollers. I never really saw it until I was earthquake in high school, and I looked out of the parking lot and I just saw that going on, like ripples in water going across the parking lot like that. I was like, oh my God, that's a roller.
Wow.
Yeah. And you've got ones that go like this, or ones that go like this, up and down, this way. It's just so weird, just the particulars of it, how they happen.
Mm-hmm.
And those are one of those things that some seismologists that have not been in a lot of earthquakes will debate with you, but you're like, dude, seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then with that, just to go back right there, is we have to go over, and this explains the tectonic plates and the different plates we have. These are all the different plates of the world. And right there in California, you got the good old San Andreas that runs right up, and with a whole series of faults right there. It goes right by the San Andreas fault. I can see it. It's not like, what's her name from, Nancy Pelosi? No, it wasn't Nancy Pelosi. What's her name that was running for vice president of the United States, that said, I can see Russia from my house? I actually can see the San Andreas fault from my house, from my backyard. I can be at it in 10 minutes. I was actually contemplating, just for a fun thing, to see if I actually drive to it during the show, but that would be a little bit too much of a Pelosi stunt. But I could be there in less than 15 minutes. Any part. So yeah, it's something. But these are all the different plates. And if you notice, look on the border around the Pacific Ocean. It's all over. It's called the Ring of Fire, where 90% of the volcanoes occur, including us and Alaska and the Aleutian Islands and Japan and all that. And good old Japan.
Yeah.
I've had you call it like that for now. So the Ring of Fire right there, we are the most volcanic, or most geologically active area in the world. This is the Ring of Fire. We live right along that red zone, or orange. And then just to show the one that's the backbone of the main fault through California is the San Andreas, over 800 miles long. You see right there, cuts right through the Bay Area. And where's it end? It ends just underneath the Salton Sea, where it goes down. And I'm kind of a nerd on that one stuff. I went over, I took a short video one time going, I'm in San Andreas Fault, and I started jumping up and down going, this is not going to do anything, folks, right?
That's funny.
Yeah, and then just during the show countdown, we had pictures of it. The rip, you could see the actual stress along the San Andreas Fault we were showing right there in the countdown. You can see it's just one of the best examples of an active fault, and what they do is the San Andreas. It's one of the most biggest and active in the world. Looks like that's the end of that slide. So that's kind of the science of the science of what happens there. It doesn't take long to explain it on that one. We kind of breezed through that. But are you looking at the show outline I created this morning?
Oh, no. Let me open it.
We can use it more as a guide.
And let me grab my.
I'll tell you, folks, that we use ChatGPT and then just refine it, and it was one of those ones. So it's interesting is we want to look up. We might want to do earthquake facts here. Why is there aftershocks? We look at the science of this. This is one of those questions that people really don't. They know it happens, but why does it happen? Let's look it up. So I'm actually going to see what Wikipedia says because I may explain it better than I can on this one.
So do you want to do the segment 3? What segment are we on?
The science of it, the intro. We're just kind of going with it. Right now I'm looking at, it says tectonic plates. I went through all that, skip guest appearance. And like, what is epicenter versus hypocenter? We're actually looking at the outline that we're using ChatGPT creator that we're going to actually answer these questions with y'all. And we're looking at it says like, what is an epicenter versus a hypocenter? So this is one of those things we don't really think about. We're just there's earthquake, shaking, do what you got to do. So real quickly, Walt, you want to look up what is epicenter versus hypocenter?
Epicenter.
Let me tell what the difference is between all those.
Hypocenter. Okay, let me tell you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. The difference between, so a hypocenter is the actual point beneath the Earth's surface where an earthquake originates, where the epicenter is the point on the Earth's surface directly above the hypocenter. So in simpler terms, the epicenter is the surface where you feel the earthquake, and the hypocenter is where it began underground. So that's the difference.
That's the difference. You know what's interesting? It just kind of reminds me. Remember, like the Indonesian quake in 2004, that created that tsunami that just killed tens of thousands of people.
I remember the one that. Oh wait, are you talking about the one that in the Philippines? I mean, in Thailand, where it flooded all the beaches and there was a huge tsunami.
Yeah, it was actually in Indonesia. It started in Indonesia and it went out and it struck.
Went
it
to
went
Thailand.
through the island. It went to Thailand. It hit the coast of Australia. Matter of fact, it was so big that the tsunami actually ricocheted and created waves that was felt around the world to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
On there when the water was sloshing. But what created was when you get these upthrust earthquakes where the tectonic plate goes like that, there's a slip and then it actually does an upthrust like I talked about. I saw in Yucca Valley. I think for that earthquake, it went up, it slipped enough like 12 feet, 12 or 15 feet.
It displaces the water. Yeah.
Yeah, it forced the water to go. So you got all that water up. So when you got that upthrust right there, the water goes, goes up like that and then creates the waves out from there, which was particularly egregious that created that just absolutely made the tsunami all the more tragic and huge.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is that earthquake or that tsunami, my dad was in Thailand, in Phuket.
Really?
But he was at his house, which was on the mountain. So he wasn't directly affected, but he was there when it happened. Luckily he was high in the ground. And one of my best friends, her cousin was on her boat when that happened. And she was in Thailand, in Phuket. And what happened was they saw a whole bunch of debris coming through their boat, like not through it, but like are in the water all around the boat. And they're like, that's weird. They saw all the debris in the ocean from the tsunami. Yeah.
I mean, there was I think it was like 5 days after the earthquake and the tsunami hit, they actually found somebody clinging to it 200 miles out to sea, clinging to a refrigerator that had managed to live through that hell.
But also remember, there was that huge earthquake and tsunami in Japan where it destroyed Fukushima, where it destroyed their nuclear power plant. And so many people were like pulled to sea, and that whole city was just ruined from the, the water sucking houses into the ocean, and cars and people, and just that was a big old nightmare, that one.
Yeah. I think just seeing the videos from that was seeing the water rush into the farm fields 6 miles inland. But that only happened just less than 100 miles off the coast of Japan, didn't it? The epicenter.
I feel like that happened in 2011.
It was kind of somewhat recent.
I feel like it was
30 years ago.
Because I have this little Hello Kitty, and it says Japan or Tokyo, Japan Strong or something, and it was from that whole thing. So
Gotcha.
But yeah, it was really crazy.
It was. So a little more science right quick. We're looking up what causes aftershocks, and we look at this. It's going to say aftershocks what are aftershocks and how are they caused? After a large earthquake event like in Tibet, also known as a main shock, smaller earthquakes aftershocks can hit the nearby area of the initial impact as part of the normal readjustment process of the Earth's crust. So it's the Earth is settling, things are slipping into place, and so you've got, depending on the size of the earthquake, you can have an aftershock that can be as big as the main quake. So if you've got a 7, you're going to have aftershocks that are in the 6s and the 5s, and the 6s are upper 5s are where damage really starts happening. The 6s, you better get in your doorway. But as the Earth readjusts, so things kind of slip back into place, and as it does that creates a little more earthquake, and that's why we have aftershocks. That's actually a great definition of reason why.
So it's interesting. There's a phone app. I don't know if you guys are aware of it. There's a phone app called, let me show you what it is. I have it on my phone. One of my friends told me about it, and so I put it on my phone. And it's been it's very helpful because it's called Earthquake. And it actually shows all of the earthquakes that are happening nearby. You can do filters for it. It's pretty cool. You can search recent, and you can also search North America, and you can search. Actually, it was interesting. Let me just put this time. When I saw that, I was looking at the phone because I was constantly seeing these different notifications on the apps, right? And on what day was it? The 13th? The 14th was when that big earthquake happened, right?
Yeah, right before tax day.
Yeah, okay.
I must have started by all the people like stampeding to their cars and to H&R Block and whatnot to get their taxes done.
So
that would have been on the 15th.
So you guys are going to be like, whoa, that's weird. So I saw there was an earthquake in Julian on Sunday. Okay. So on April, so they were having tons of little earthquakes. So like here, April 13th, Julian, 8.3. 0.83. And then again, let's see, Julian, 2:16 a.m., 0.47 on the 13th. And then I saw so many at 4:29 a.m., 2 hours later, 0.76, Julian. And then there's another one. It's like, and then it's almost like they were pre-shocks because they started building up to a major one, right? Because
you just Googled it.
There was lots of minor earthquakes before and after. And so like just looking at 2 days before, there's a whole bunch of ones that were near Julian. Like they're listing Button Willow, Cobb, 29 Palms.
That's a different fault line. The Julian would 29 Palms would be different than Julian.
Yucca Valley, Ontario, Loma Linda. I'm just kind of saying a bunch of different ones. Let's see, Yucca Valley. I'm trying to find the next one there. but there was a whole bunch. I saw there was like I feel like it was like a 2 or 3 in Julian on the weekend. And then there was a whole bunch of little ones. And then there was the big one on Tuesday. So it's kind of crazy. And then after the big one, oh, see here, on April 13th at 3:54 p.m., there's a 3.31. At 3:56 p.m., 1.25. At 3:57, 0.92. At 4, 1.45. At 4:12, 0.66. At 4:13, 0.67. At 4:18, 0.67. At 4:25, 0.72. At 5, 1.32. 5.04, 1.03. So there was a whole bunch of activity on this fault area epicenter. There was a whole bunch of activity before that earthquake. And after, even there was several, like every few minutes, there was several smaller aftershocks. So it definitely was really busy for Julian. And I was like, wow, they're not really talking about how many little earthquakes they had before and after and leading up to it. Just thoughts.
Yeah, because I mean, trying to figure out was it just on the right there with what I showed on what defines a foreshock, aftershock, or relative terms on. We Googled it. They're trying to see if it's a earthquake cluster could be considered foreshocks to before the main quake. Is subjective, really. On that one, it's hard to tell if it does that, especially if you got a quake over here and a quake over there that may be on different fault lines. On that one, like you're describing. It's a tough one, but it's hard to defend those patterns on that one, because I remember before the Landers quake, we did have a minor quake, 3 something, a 4, just a couple days before, and all of a sudden, and then that sucker hit. And it's crazy how it works. You ever been in a powwow during an earthquake, or powwow during an earthquake, or gone? We had one that was a big one over in Ludlow, near Ridgecrest.
Oh, wow.
That one was about a 6.9 or 7.
Wow.
It was about 6.9.
If you
I was a
felt
Ridgecrest powwow that weekend.
if you felt it outside, it was probably pretty strong, because you have to literally, when you're outside, it's really hard to feel an earthquake unless it's really a shaky one. Because you don't have anything. I was going to say, you don't really have anything to, when you're inside, you definitely feel an earthquake more because you're seeing your structure shake and make noises around you. But if you're outside, you don't necessarily notice it as much.
I've had that happen where I'm outside and I'm like, am I falling apart or what? I remember sitting in my car once. I was getting ready to drive up to Idlewild, and I'm sitting in a red light in Palm Desert, and the car's going like this. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh man, it's the motor mount. What the heck? And I look over and I see the stoplight going. I was like, it's an earthquake. Oh, that's a big one.
I've been in a car where it shakes a bit, and we're like, well, that was an earthquake.
Yeah, kidding. I've had somewhere I'm like, I think I was out hiking one time and then went like this. I was like, God, this is slippery. Wait, no, it's an earthquake. I'm not slipping on the sand right there. And I had to really watch it because there were rock slides around me.
You're like, why am I walking so stumbly? What's going on?
But when you hear that low and the description's like a freight train going by, yeah, that's accurate. Low rumble and everything like that. And then we might as well just take over it because we've got a few minutes left. Let's just hit some of the main stuff. Some of the fun facts on that one. Can animals predict earthquakes? Some say yes, some say no. I'm a believer in yes, they can.
I don't think so. I think that they can feel it. I think they can actually hear it possibly and feel it, because dogs can hear really well, more than we can hear, and they might be hearing the shaking coming up.
Maybe it's just by coincidence, but like I've seen, like probably as a kid, there was a large earthquake in northern Mexico that took out the courthouse in Imperial Valley, and I remember seeing chickens run into their coop where they see the place of safety, and a bunch of geese at a farm field just get up and fly away. I'm like, where are they flying? It was about 2 minutes before the earthquake hit. So I can tell you is just stories. Take them what they are, and then of course the backs up your statement totally, definitely. is I remember before the Landers quake hit, our dogs started barking and howling 30 seconds before it hit. That's what woke me up, not the earthquake itself. Was the dogs howling? Then it hit. So was it coincidence? Maybe it said that maybe they can feel because there may be electromagnetic, a release of energy and maybe electromagnetism
Yeah.
that the animals can sense that startles them. Is why they go over there, because birds migrate. How do they know where to go?
Yeah.
That they may detect that energy that sets them off, that warns them before the actual shaking starts. So it's interesting we do that. With that, I did say that there was a volcano in Southern California. Let me get that up, because I actually have a list of earthquakes. We're probably not going to get to that with a couple of minutes, but I probably piqued people's interest with.
It's here. It says major earthquakes: 1906 San Francisco, 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. That was the one, and then 2011 was Tohoku, Japan. That's where Fukushima is.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to do the true? Oh, is that what you were talking about?
Well, no, I'm looking at
You're
not
looking at
Jigsaw Crater.
Are you looking at the true false?
No, I'm actually, when I said that there is actually technically a volcano, I'm bringing it up because it's kind of a fun trivia thing.
So maybe we should talk about what to do during an earthquake. You have 5 minutes, 3 minutes left.
Yeah. So typically, because I want to bring this up, I'll just tell about it because I'm looking for pictures. I can't find a good thing to Google. It's not popping up real quick. So what do you do during an earthquake? If you've got a reinforced doorway that's reinforced in your house, modern houses built in the last 25, 30 years will often have these. To get a reinforced doorway, because it's a stronger area where you're less likely to have walls come down on you, the roof collapse on you. You're more relatively safe there, safe as you could be, to stand in that reinforced doorway of your house to prevent that. So you want to do that during the earthquake. If you're indoors, try not to get outdoors because it's an earthquake. Things are going to fall on you.
Yeah.
If you try to rush outside, and if you can't get outside, get out of the structure because of the aftershocks.
Yeah.
Californians know that just.
So it was really funny. I was looking at the first thing I thought is stop, drop, and roll. And the thing is, when we were kids, we were taught a couple things, right? We were taught stop, drop, and roll, and duck and cover, right? In our grade school, we were taught these things. And it was so funny because Richard posted stop, drop, and roll. And I'm like, holy geez, that's so funny, because the first thing I thought in my mind was stop, drop, and roll. And that's if you're on fire. So that's not good advice. It's not stop, drop, and roll. It's actually duck and cover. So, you want to, put your head down and, protect yourself, like under a dining table, under a really solid table. Because basically the thing is too, is that if you're in a space where if the roof falls in on yourself, you want to be in low areas, because basically, like, so say if you have a table and the roof falls down, there's gaps of space inside areas that actually will happen. Like when a house collapses, it doesn't just smash down into one flat pancake. Like if you have, like right now I'm just looking, I have this table and I have my kitchen counter next to it. So if the ceiling was to drop down in one piece or in a big old chunk, there's going to be an area below. So when they're saying that you should like get low and get under things, it's because basically that structure, like a dining table, or like being in a door jamb, or being in a space where it's like kind of like that, you're going to be more protected, because if there is major structural damage where bits fall down, you're going to be a lot safer in those kind of little gaps.
Absolutely. And then there's the afterword on stuff like that. I finally have information on the volcano. Should I go that? Or should we?
Well, we're like already done. I mean, is there anything else, like any important stuff you want to share before?
There's afterward that we've talked about it with emergency preparedness is you try to keep 3 to 5 days worth of food and water around.
Yeah.
Keep some extra cash around if you're in that position. You can do that, and things like don't go back and stake refuge inside your house. Try to stay outdoors. Stay away from live power lines. Assume that down power lines will do that. Look, we have a troll.
That's so weird. I don't know how we can delete these things.
I don't know, and it's always on Twitch. Anyway, so there's those things that you do that's just generally what you do as you prepare for any natural disaster. And just remember, there's going to be more quakes on that one. Okay, I've got information about Obsidian Buttes. So yeah, California, we do have. Where is it? All right, so I'm going to do a share screen. This is totally worth it. This is one of those like bit cooler than the world's biggest ball of string things. Is that here's a map of volcanoes in Southern California: Mount Shasta, Lassen Volcanic Center, which is like a mini Yellowstone with the geysers and stuff. Long Valley. But if you look right down here on Southern California, it says Salton Buttes, also known as Obsidian Buttes, to the locals in Imperial Valley. Here's a picture. It's actually a series that they're about 30, 40 feet tall. You've actually got 2 of them. You've got obsidian in the caldera. I've been in these. I live less than an hour from that. I can be there I can actually be there in like 50 minutes. And this is toward the very southern tip of the San Andreas Fault. They're considered technically an active volcano. They erupted as little as, they figure ones erupted as little as 500 years ago. And they're not very impressive and not very dangerous. Was considered technically an active volcano. And it's erupted kind of recent. So they're really not much to worry about. But there actually are geysers in the area. Not far from there is a geyser that's the world's only moving geyser that's actually over just outside of Nyland. They've had to move the highway and train tracks a couple times and have to again because of this moving geyser, which all it is just like the seep that puts up water. It's not like Yellowstone with pool, just seeping up water. It's a big pit that's moving. Super active area, of course. That's where the government wants to, private companies wants to start mining lithium is in that area for all the seeps, which is actually a rift valley, Southern California, Coachella Valley, all the way from Gulf of Mexico, all the way up to Palm Springs in that area. We're actually technically a rift valley. We're separating like the Great Rift Valley in Africa. Oh, the geological wonders. If I get down, next time I go down there, I'll do a thing and I'll do a little video and I'll show it on the show of Obsidian Buttes and the active volcano.
It's really funny. My mom, every time this is kind of a fun thing, and then we have to really check out because so my mom is so funny. Whenever we go driving to a powwow, my mom would be like, "Oh, look, there's a cinder cone." That's a cinder cone. And I was like, okay. And every time we go driving, that's a cinder cone. Svea, that's a cinder cone. See, that's a lava flow right there.
Well, you remember, I did a show and I showed pictures where we did a giant service project with the Bureau of Land Management live back in December at Amboy Crater. That's a cinder cone.
See? Cinder cones. They're a thing.
With lots of basalt.
If you guys have never seen a cinder cone, go look it up on after the show. And when you go driving, watch for cinder cones. Anyway.
And can a pine cone be a cinder cone?
No.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I am. Okay, guys. Well, we're
See 4 minutes.
Is that a cinder cone?
Right here? That's a cinder cone. There's a little hill right here that also may be a cinder cone.
It
may be. That is? Wait, you know what that is?
That's a horse.
2 cheeks and hair.
Okay.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And we're going to probably be pre-recorded for next week. Next week is the Lakeside Rodeo, right?
Lakeside Rodeo and Cuba Days. So, folks, we will have a couple weeks pre-record and replays on the show. We will be back. Mother's Day weekend will actually be you're the Palace Friday night, right, Stanford?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will be hosting the show with Wendy. I'm gonna probably be calling you. The show on Mother's Day weekend, and then we'll be back live for both of us
Yes.
for that show. But we do have some shows that is getting busy time for us, so we will occasionally have some replays.
Yes.
But that's what we got going on. You know, we do what we can when we can, and you know, I'm gonna miss you, Svea.
Hmm?
Oh, we'll totally be talking anyway.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right. Well, all right. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great show or have a great week. And thank you for being our fans and following us and commenting, because it's been making it a lot more interesting this than you're talking to a computer for an hour by ourselves.
I talk to myself a lot on the computer.
Well, you're a little cray-cray, so that makes sense.
You got it. Okay, folks. Good night. Dance with us. Oh, Lord. Hold on. Is it playing? Do you see it?
I can hear music.
I hear the music. Okay, there freaking is.
Start it over.
I'm starting it over. Do over and dance. You guys know how to use your legs to use a doggy wheelchair. It's called atrophy. Will do, Maya. Thank you.
Aw, ain't he cute?
James, remove that thing.
It's earth-shattering, shaking, Svea. No.
What?
You gotta get that checked out, girl. Good night, folks.
Bye, everyone.